So this is the funniest shit ever. In other words, she's right here. She's making fun of the libel Bible, part of the Bible that I don't know. I think Jewish people. I don't know. I think she's meaning Jewish people. She hates the Jews the most. She says the Jews have caused every problem in the world. But anyway, what you have to realize, there's all different kinds of Jews. You got apple Jews, grape Jews, strawberry Jews, pineapple Jews, and the only Jews that are corrupt are, the ones that pretend that the Bible is true. And then you got the Christians, the Christians, and it's the same with them. They're not all bad, just the ones that pretend that the Bible is true. And then same with the Catholics and the Protestants and the Buddhists and all of them who pretend their cartoon godfather is true, that you could call them demonic. In other words, there's no such thing as demons, devils, and Satans and evil spirits. Those are all metaphors for evil humans, like this lady here pretending Jesus is God. So anyway, listen how the light teases this. Just watch. It's the funniest tease that the light has done, I think.
I mentioned to you guys this man named Rob Skiba yesterday. He wrote a book entitled Babylon Rising. This came to me from an email tip. It was immediately interesting. Well, this man, it is alleged, was actually murdered for some of the research and the pieces that he were putting together because he was perhaps getting too close to the ultimate project of the elites. By the way, his son emailed me yesterday thanking me for bringing up his father and grateful that his father's work is still carrying on. I've not had time to email him back, but I did receive that email, and I know that you are watching, and I'm also grateful that the work that your father did is getting new meaning.
It's like, what if someone killed her for promoting her Jesus story, that Jesus, is God, and if you don't say he's God, he burns you alive, screaming your head off forever and ever in a place called hell, pray tell, with his partners, demons, devils, and Satans.
Anyway, I started watching this speech that his father, Rob Skiba, gave on the topic of his book, Babylon Rising. I explained to you that all of the elites are obsessed with Babylon, and any research that I do, it's all about Babylon, Babylon, Babylon. And I want to share to you some of these clips. It's Rob Skiba, and he's speaking about his book. Now, to tee this up, let's just get into a little bit of the history. He is positing a lot about the Tower of Babel. Obviously, we know this was built up, that this angered God. And Rob's...
So all these God frauds anger God, the real God, the one down here now since December 22nd, 2006, with blatant, obvious scientific God evidence in all morals and logic and common sense no one could quarrel with, not even this genius lady who hates God's motherfucking guts. I have no idea why. The light says it has something to do with that kid, P.T. Sweetie Pie. And so she lies and lies and lies about the one and only God Almighty. So this is how the light teases. In other words, what she bring up, she said the Tower of Babel. So what's the definition of Babel? Babel means a confused noise by a number of evil voices like hers. You could call that a confused noise. Or another definition is a scene is noisy confusion. On this godforsaken scene, what's the most noisy confusion? All the convoluted God fraud cartoons that she's promoting, the most evil, moronic, demonic one, in my humble opinion. A man named Jesus who's supposed to be all love, but if you don't say that man God is God, he burns you alive in a place called hell, pray tell, forever and ever, screaming your head off in pain, on fire pain. So, obviously that story is more than Elaine, and it annoys the real God, as she just said. It's a Tower of Babel, a tower of disgustingness.
Skiba posits that it wasn't actually the height of the tower that was problematic. He believes that, or this is a theory, so don't be offended. Please don't send me emails about, whoa, this is not the...
We're breaking down the theory of scary theory.
Teaching, this is not the doctrine. We're trying to not get to what is true or what you believe. We are trying to actually get to what the...
Believing is thinking, clanking, and stinking. That's what all the religions have, faith. In other words, you want them the one and only know system. In other words, you know God is down here moving human skin, human cells, human tissue in real time. That's only possible by the one and only divine, and the one and only sublime, and the one and only humanly impossible shine, creating those real-time shiners under people's eyes that they despise and create crass-ass lies about.
Elite's belief. Okay, we actually don't believe we should harm children. So if we're speaking about the elite's belief, you don't have to send me a lecture about what's wrong about it. The entire purpose of this podcast is to tell you that the elites are satanic. Anyway, back to Nimrod building this Tower of Babel.
Okay, she just mentioned Nimrod creating this tower of nutjobs. And so what's the definition of Nimrod? Nimrod means a foolish or inept person. Who's more foolish or inept than human beings believing any of the religion stories of disgustingness with all those God frauds that all give their followers permission to sin and even incinerate people and be prejudiced as long as you follow some moronic rules. And so you see how the light channeled this story in the Bible to tease the fuck out of the God Almighty haters down here in this modern day. The Book of Eggnog, it sounds like all the characters sound like Dr. Seuss, and that's the light sense of humor. Wrote all of them, Nimrod and Babel. It's hilarious of Dr. Seuss. So who's the original Dr. Seuss? The one and only doctor. The one and only pure real-time cure. That's the one and only doctor for goddamn sure.
Well, Rob Skiba posits, he's like, I don't think it was because the tower was high. We know that he built this to get back to heaven. He thinks that actually
built the tower to get back to heaven. That's like, what's his name, who dropped the ladder from heaven, Allah. So Muhammad could walk back up the ladder to heaven. And people believe this garbage, even her. But she believes the Jesus one, which is even more foolish and ghoulish and stoolish.
Actually, this tower that was being built was a technology because they wanted to get back into the heavenly realm. Now, if you have read Gilgamesh, there is a lot of astrotheology that's in it, stargates. We know that the elites worship stars. We've covered that extensively. Well, in this particular clip, you're going to see Rob Skiba discuss the Book of Enoch, the one that I mentioned to you, going back to the beginning, the story of fallen angels. And he brings up something that is of geographical interest. Take a listen.
Story of fallen angels. And here's the killer right here. Here's the killer that's just going to make her cry and cry and cry with all the God Almighty haters. What's this killer right here from the GT?
There are extra biblical texts, like the Book of Enoch and others, that go into more detail about what happened in Genesis 6. The Book of Enoch says that 200 fallen angels, a class of angels known as the Watchers, landed in this location.
Who's the one and only Watcher?
Right here. This is the center of a mountain range in southern Lebanon known as Mount Hermon. Now keep your eye right there.
Mount Hermon, definitely teased by the light. This is Dr. Seuss.
As the camera pulls back, and just kind of look at the outline of the topography right there, it's very interesting that it actually forms the shape.
God haters are so funny. They talk like they're talking about like scientific evidence. It's the most moronic, stupid shit, and they talk to you like, like it's a fact.
Of a goat. One of the worst of the fallen angels was one by the name of Azazel. And Azazel is always associated with the goat. And you see that in Leviticus chapter 16.
If this is true, in other words, obviously the light put the goat there, because who's the one and only God goat down here like never before? To settle the one and only God Almighty score on a blatant, obvious, humanly impossible tease King Tor. And me, Peter, Sweeter, loves this one. Who's the one and only goat? Ask Tom Brady, talking about the God goat.
The scapegoat is in reference to Azazel. I find it interesting that the land itself
Azazel
actually kind of looks like a goat head. This gentleman depicted here is David Flynn. He recently passed away, but he turned the world upside down with some of his research, and he was able to figure out that location is 33.33 degrees north by 33.33 degrees east from the Paris prime meridian.
And so there's the killer, ladies and gentlemen. How many threes are we going to be free? North. What's north? Heaven. Hello, how are you? Does she look sad about this? Kiss of pure unadulterated bliss. Did you just figure out the three? Kim, Chloe, Class Audition Manager, Mommy, why did you convince us that the Bible is true? What moron would believe the eggnog and the eggnog? And only Nimrods in a Tower of Babel would believe any of this babble. Babble. So see, it's hilarious what the light does, isn't it? This is a great one. I love this. We'll post this today.